Alright, so a new Battlebit update just dropped and I wanted to cover the changes real quick. It's been a few weeks since we saw the last update. I think it was 3, but they did mention that they're getting ready for a bunch of events, like real-life events. Notably, I think they're going to DreamHack, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why there wasn't a whole lot of updates in the past couple of weeks. But there have been quite a few changes in today's update. So starting off with map changes, so there was a map rework. Dust to Do has been completely redesigned. You can see a screenshot on screen right now. There is much less fog now. It's a lot flatter. And I think now the flags on Conquest are more symmetrical, so one team doesn't have an advantage over the other. They mentioned that Dust to Do was probably one of the least played maps in Battlebit, so they wanted to address that issue and completely redesign it to allow basically better gameplay on that map, and it does look a lot better. I honestly always enjoyed that map, even though we didn't get to play it that much, but I think these changes are a welcome addition. Wine Paradise saw a terrain, ground, and cliffs texture update, so just a little point for Wine Paradise there. Moving on to gameplay changes, the detection radius for player in combat has been increased from 2 meters to 6 meters, so basically a player will not be considered in combat if an enemy is aiming at them or within a 6-meter radius around them. So again, this was 2 meters previously. This is due to the reports that player in combat is not accurate in allowing players to spawn into death or allowing players to spawn onto an enemy that just got killed and then the person is reloading and then the enemy gets killed, which is also frustrating on both ends. So it should feel a little bit safer to spawn on teammates. Stickiness of C4 reduced for non-vehicular surfaces. However, the C4 will still be sticky for vehicles. So you can see a little clip on screen right now. Much easier to throw C4 like out a window without it sticking to the roof or the windowsill basically, or on surfaces that you didn't intend for it to stick on. So just C4 better overall, except for, of course, when you're using it on vehicles. It just allows you to throw it where you're actually looking instead of it just going into random direction, sticking on the nearest wall that is closest to your center of screen. So there was barrel stats rework and grips stats rework. I'll leave a link to screenshots of the changes for all of these barrels and grips in the description down below if you want to go and check out all the values. So from what I can tell in the numbers, there are some pretty significant changes, making it so the grips and barrels feel more distinct amongst each other rather than all feeling kind of similar. There was also a buff to the bipod. They didn't really mention what it entailed, but basically I hope it just makes it better to use. Moving on to map selection. So roulette map selection has been disabled. However, it can be enabled by server admins. So a while back they introduced map roulette, which basically made it so depending on how many votes a map had, it would have a higher weight to be picked, but it would still be essentially random. So it wouldn't always be the map with the most votes that would win. So they disabled that by default. But if you are a community server admin, you can enable this so it goes back to the roulette map selection. The map selection has also been reduced to 3 maps to less divide votes, and the played maps won't show on pool. Now, played maps, is that the last 2 maps, last 3 maps? I don't know, they didn't specify, but hopefully we don't see the same maps over and over again as we did in the past. UI UX changes. So they added the option to disable weekly challenge notifications in the gameplay settings. So there was a little sound notification as well as in the top right hand corner would tell you where you are in that challenge. You can now disable it and just check it as you need by just going and pressing escape and seeing where you are in a certain challenge. The site's zoom levels will now be displayed on the UI. So when you're modifying weapon, if you choose a scope, it will now say what the zoom level is directly next to the scope. On the scoreboard, the scores and ranking will be displayed by flat XP without considering XP boosts. So since they added weekly challenge, if you got the 4x XP boost, it would just boost your overall XP. So you could see somebody with like a ridiculous amount of XP compared to everybody else. That was because of the XP boost. Now it'll just show flat XP rates and the XP boost will just give you the XP but not show up on the scoreboard. Frequency of checks for friendly marker visibility behind walls has been increased because sometimes the friendly icon was not appearing quickly enough, leading to confusion for the user. So a while back, they changed how markers were displayed to you. So if you hadn't seen a player, like the actual model of a player in the past, I don't know, 2 seconds, let's say, the little icon would disappear. And then if it detected that you saw him again, it would reappear, but it wasn't frequent enough that it would check for that. So sometimes there would be no marker above a friendly player. So they modified that a little bit. Map name and game mode will be displayed on the loading screen top left, as you can see in the screenshot right now. Moving on to bug fixes. So unable to destroy claymore/mines has been fixed along with several other bugs related to this issue. So no longer will you need to shoot a mine 4 or 5 times for it to blow up. The bug with weekly challenges not refreshing has been fixed, and no word on whether there will be new weekly challenges or not. The glitch where the player's body teleports into the void when killed in a vehicle seat has been fixed. The inability to switch fire modes while interacting has been resolved, and sometimes the progress bar on the bottom displaying wrong ranks was fixed. So that's pretty much it for the changes that were introduced in this week's patch, but there are a lot of things upcoming that I'll cover real quick. So there's a new game mode similar to Battlefield 1's Operation, which was previously mentioned, that is still under development. They're aiming to release it on weekdays, so during the week or by next weekend, and it will be called Invasion. So basically one team starts off with all the flags capped, and the other team has to attack those objectives. So let's say the first sector has 3 flags. The defending team owns all 3 of those flags. The attacking team has to capture all 3 to progress to the next sector, and so on until you reach the end of the map. And in Battlefield 1 operations, you would move from one map to another. Don't know whether that's the case or not in Battlebit. I guess we'll have to wait and see when the Invasion game mode is released, hopefully by next weekend. They also mentioned that they're nearing the completion of the new skin system that was frequently mentioned in the dev stream. They say that alongside the new game mode, this will be their main focus starting next week. I believe they mentioned they're halfway through all the weapons for implementing the new skin system for those. And as I mentioned earlier, they're preparing for 3 significant events, which is taking up most of their time, giving them arguably less time to work on Battlebit updates. But this is a pretty fleshed out update, and hopefully we can experience the new game mode next weekend. So that'll be it for today's video. Let me know what changes you are most looking forward to trying. And yeah, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.